Welcome back to this next video in the Unlocking Your Crypto Journey educational series. Today, we're talking about what is cryptocurrency. And I know that's a broad topic, and we're going to touch on it just the surface. There'll be some links in the description that you can go ahead and do further deep dives on some of this information. But to get this information out to you today, I brought back BC PortCorp. So let's get to this video and learn about what is crypto. Welcome back. And welcome back, BC. Appreciate you being back here to help out with this series.
Not a problem. As always, it is a pleasure to be here. I enjoy doing these deep dives into crypto topics and getting the people some education.
Exactly. Spreading the knowledge, spreading that education. I love that you said education. But anyway, okay, today we're going to be talking about what is cryptocurrency. Now, let's just be honest. Let's put it on the table. If BC and I were to deep dive into every piece of what fills in the topic, what is cryptocurrency, we'd be recording for the next several days, probably.
Oh yeah, talking about like a 12.5-hour video.
Yeah, easily multiple 12. Yeah, it's crazy. So we are going to go into some of these topics more deeply in other videos. So as they're recorded, watch for those. They'll pop up in the corner and they'll be obviously in the description of this video. But we are going to at least touch on those topics today. And we're going to be joined by Venice AI today. For those of you who are looking for an AI solution, that's a privacy AI solution, that may be a good option for you. Link is in the description if you're interested in that. But I love Venice AI, and we're going to bring it in to answer some of the questions I put to it a little while ago. And you know what? I'll tell you what the questions were, and then we'll kind of get into it. I asked it to explain what is cryptocurrency to me like I was 5. I mean, there are days I feel like I'm 5, at least as far as this thing is concerned. And then I asked it to explain cryptocurrency to me like I was a teenager. Okay, you know, theoretically a little bit more developed brain there, right? And then finally, I asked it to explain cryptocurrency to me. I was an adult, but an adult that had no knowledge of like cryptocurrency, no knowledge of blockchain, anything like that. And then BC is going to impart some knowledge on us because this guy, I'll tell you what, he always brings the alpha. So what do you say, BC? How about we'll start off with the AI telling us what it's like as a 5-year-old, and then we'll jump in, you and I, from there. How's that sound?
That sounds like a great way to start it off, sir. Let's get the ball rolling.
All right, excellent. So here's Venice AI talking through what is cryptocurrency, trying to explain it to a 5-year-old.
All right, imagine you have a special piggy bank that only you can open. Inside this piggy bank, you keep some magical coins that you can use to buy things online or trade with your friends. These magical coins are called cryptocurrency. Now, these coins are different from the regular money your parents use. They are digital, which means they exist only on computers and can't be held in your hand. But just like real money, you can use them to buy toys, games, or even pizza. Cryptocurrency is special because it's like a secret code that only people with the right key can understand. This makes it very safe and hard for anyone to steal. It's also not controlled by any single person or bank, which means it's free and can be used by anyone in the world. So, in simple terms, cryptocurrency is like digital money that you can use to buy things online. And it's very safe because it's protected by a secret code.
Okay, I mean, I guess if I was 5, that I understand money. I get banks at this point in history, right? I get piggy banks. I love the fact that they mentioned piggy banks, by the way. I'm just saying. So there's that. But for most of the people who are probably viewing this video, I'm going to guess you're a little over the age of 5. So maybe we'll jump in and add an additional definition, go through a little bit, and then we'll get into what the teenager might understand. BC, why don't you kick us off with that a little bit?
Well, I think it does a good job at describing the fact that at its base level use case, crypto was originally supposed to replace money as like a peer-to-peer transfer. So that's like its very, very base layer first use case that we've ever seen for crypto. And that's a pretty accurate definition. I like that it touched that you can spend it on pizza.
Yeah.
The very first use case of a real world transfer of Bitcoin was for some pizza. And I bet that guy really wishes that
Yeah, that he still had
some
that Bitcoin. No doubt, no doubt. Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Just a shout out right now, and I'll put a link in the description, obviously, to Billy Goat Tales and the books for children that they're writing. Because guess what? That almost falls right in line to what the AI was just kind of reading, and what BC pointed out at its very base. There it is. That's kind of what it is, right? Is there anything you want to throw on top of that right now, BC, before we kind of keep clipping along with this, the AI's help?
Well, I think we should dive a little bit further into what the AI has to say, and then maybe we can get a little more complex with those definitions.
All right, fair enough. All right, so this next section, I asked the AI to tell me basically the same question, but explain it to me like I was a teenager, and it changed it up a little bit. So let's give that a listen now.
Sure, let's break it down in a way that's easy to understand, like you're chatting with a friend about the latest tech trend. Cryptocurrency, or crypto for short, is a type of digital money that exists only on computers. Unlike the cash in your wallet, crypto is decentralized, meaning no single person, bank, or government controls it. It's like having a digital piggy bank that you can access from anywhere in the world. Think of crypto as a secret code that only you and the person you're trading with can understand. This code makes crypto super secure and hard to hack. When you buy or sell crypto, the transaction is recorded on a big digital ledger called a blockchain. It's like a giant, unchangeable book that everyone can see, but no one can alter. Cryptocurrency is also a bit like a digital collectible. Some people buy it because they believe its value will go up over time, just like how some people buy rare trading cards or art. Others use it to buy things online, especially in places where traditional payment methods might be tricky. The most famous cryptocurrency is Bitcoin, but there are many others like Ethereum, which also has smart contracts. Basically, digital agreements that automatically execute when certain conditions are met. So, in a nutshell, crypto is a secure, decentralized form of digital money that you can use to buy things, invest, or trade. It's a bit like the future of money, and it's already changing how people think about finance and transactions.
I'll tell you what, without actually, well, it did say some of the words, some of the buzzwords there, but without saying some of the buzzwords, it said some of the buzzwords. So I'm just going to throw these out there, BC, and tell me if I missed any here. It talks about cryptography without actually mentioning it, right? It in my opinion, talks about NFTs when it's talking about all those collectibles, again, without actually specifically talking NFTs. It literally mentions smart contracts, and then defines it a little bit, which again, we're going to have a whole separate video about that, but I like that. And then at the end, when it talks about the future of money, basically you're talking DeFi and where we're headed from our centralized banking system into a DeFi banking system. Did I miss any in there? I mean, I don't know. I kind of like what it said right there.
Yeah, I mean, it did a very good job at expanding upon what the whole crypto sector actually is. And when you get down to it, when you're trying to replace the TradFi system with all of its complex mechanisms, you need to have more than just one crypto. So at its base, yes, crypto is money, but there are different types of projects that are aimed to compete with the technologies that we have in our current TradFi system, like lending money. You can do that in your crypto ecosystem with a certain kind of project, which normally, as you said, is in that DeFi sector, comes with staking and things like that. That's kind of how we meet that need of money lending in the crypto space. Right. But it's still, at its root, is lending money. So we have many instruments that will be built on top of the crypto system to interact with anything that has to deal with money. And I do like that it touched on smart contracts, because that's a very, very big leap into how we get into filling any of these other use cases that we have for money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, it's funny, as I was reviewing, now, again, I mentioned that BC always brings the alpha, and he takes notes like it's nobody's business. I'm just saying, he really does. But to that point, a lot of what you had mentioned in the core definition of what is cryptocurrency literally got highlighted, I think, in that teenager definition of crypto. How about we tell everybody what you had listed as a core definition? Why don't you tell everybody what you had listed, and then we'll see if it hits most of it.
Well, my definition, highly technological. It comes out as a decentralized digital system built on cryptography and a blockchain distributed ledger technology that enables trustless value transfers, computation, and coordination. Which, that's just a different way of saying some of what it said. You have coordination, people working together to get something done. Basically, your whole smart contracts. You have computation, which is being able to fill a role in your space, normally going to be in your layer 2 sector, and then a value transfer, which at its base is what a crypto is all about. Transferring value from one person to another without an intermediary, which is that whole decentralized aspect of crypto, instead of having a bank that is your intermediary, or the SWIFT system, which is your intermediary.
Right. Like we currently deal with. There you go. And listen, that definition that BC just gave you, that's the Encyclopedia Britannica a la BC PortCorp. So there you go. Anything else you want to add on top of that you think might, that audio notes that you think might fit into this teenager definition here?
No, I think we might have to save that for
the adult version
definition and actually diving a little bit further into those. Because, I have several bullet points on what a cryptocurrency actually is, but I think that adult definition might open the door to those other definitions of what a crypto actually is.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm hopeful. I'm not going to lie. I tried to not really read through these too much, just enough to see, okay, is the AI kind of on point? And because I kind of wanted to be a little surprised myself when it read it to me. So let's get to the adult version, and then you're just going to be stuck with BC and I. No more AI.
Hey, the people are here for me and you anyway. The AI is just a teaser tool,
There you go. Exactly. I like that. All right, here we go. This is again, same question, but tell it to me like I'm an adult with no knowledge of cryptocurrency or blockchain.
Of course. Let's dive into the world of cryptocurrency with a clear, adult-oriented explanation. Cryptocurrency, often simply referred to as crypto, is a type of digital or virtual currency that uses cryptography for security. Unlike traditional fiat currencies, which are issued by governments, cryptocurrencies are decentralized and operate independently of a central bank. This means that no single entity controls the supply or value of a cryptocurrency. At the heart of cryptocurrency lies blockchain technology. A blockchain is a distributed ledger that records all transactions across a network of computers. Each block in the chain contains a list of transactions, and once a block is added to the chain, it cannot be altered retroactively without the consensus of the network. This makes blockchain technology extremely secure and transparent. The most well-known cryptocurrency is Bitcoin, which was introduced in 2009. Since then, thousands of other cryptocurrencies, often referred to as altcoins, have been created, each with its own unique features and use cases. For example, Ethereum is a blockchain platform that enables the creation of smart contracts and decentralized applications, dApps. Cryptocurrencies can be used for a variety of purposes, including buying goods and services, investing, and transferring value across borders without the need for intermediaries like banks. They offer benefits such as increased security, lower transaction fees, and greater privacy compared to traditional financial systems. However, the cryptocurrency market is also known for its volatility, with prices often experiencing significant fluctuations. This volatility can present both opportunities and risks for investors. Additionally, the regulatory environment for cryptocurrencies is still evolving, and different countries have varying stances on their legal status and use. In summary, cryptocurrency represents a revolutionary approach to money and finance, leveraging blockchain technology to create secure, decentralized, and transparent digital currencies. As the space continues to evolve, it offers exciting possibilities for the future of finance and technology.
Well, there you go. I think that definition, the adult definition, kind of touched on pretty much everything in your core listing there, and it was minus the pronunciation of some of those.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it did an amazing job at pronouncing things. It's not Ethereum. It's however it
pronounced it. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if I can repeat what it said. Yeah.
No. And then D-apps when it's
The D
we all
apps.
know it's DApps if you've been
Yeah.
around the space.
But it's what it is. It's funny, you hear that anytime you're using AI as all the time. It's the pronunciation of things, quite there yet, not quite there yet. Give it time though. AI is advancing quick.
It depends on what AI you use. Because I know when I speak to ChatGPT, it does a pretty good job at pronouncing things. So I guess, people have told it enough times that I was like, hey, what kind of messed up pronunciation was
Is that?
Yeah, you're not with the times. I know we speak English and it's a little bit complicated because we have all of these weird rules like I before E except after C, but like, come on now, it's not that hard.
Yep. I'm with you. All right, there we are. So where do we go from there, BC? I know you got a lot of points we want to cover, and again, we want to be respectful of people's time here. So we're going to kind of go. We're going to go through it, but again, we're going to get into more details in future videos, and we'll highlight those particular upcoming videos as we go through things. But BC, where do you want to go next and start us down that road?
Well, I think we can start with the actual transfer of value from one person to another. When it said its definition as a 5-year-old is cryptocurrency is basically digital money. Yeah, if you're talking about the base layer protocols known as layer ones.
Right.
You have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, XRP, just to name a few of these layer one technologies that are used as a transfer of value or money.
Well, and it's to the point, and I know we're going to get into it as we keep going down in this discussion. Some of those are built to be much more than money. And you know what? I think everybody gets the concept of transfer of value. So maybe we talk a little bit more about, okay, what are some of those other things? You want to start us down that road there, BC?
Oh, we can most definitely go down that. The one thing I'd like to touch on when you're talking about crypto is all of these will be decentralized as you can get in comparison with your TradFi system, which is extremely centralized. You might have centralized entities acting within a certain crypto project, but is very more decentralized than your traditional system is. I want to make that known. And as you dive further into this, you will kind of see what we're talking about here, especially when we get into things like your layer twos, which are very based on building out the network to be able to compete with the TradFi system in things like smart contracts, which have to do with performing a certain task, which is often done in money. If you do this, then we give you that. So
it's very transactional, right? That's the nature of money. Yeah, exactly. BC just mentioned layer ones and layer twos as a kind of definition, a break in the differences between some of these cryptocurrencies. And we've mentioned this before. As a matter of fact, I think it was a video that BC was on where we kind of tried to break it all down for you. And I think, again, just for the sake of this, a layer one is your railroad tracks, man. It's the stuff that everything runs on. And those layer twos are the whatevers that we want to do. Again, it's transactional. This particular one has a smart contract that does X. This one is meant to be a scaling solution for Y. This is etc. And so you kind of get the point. And maybe, BC, I don't know, do you want to dive into that particular layer one, layer two differentiation a little bit before we kind of move on?
Yeah, I would absolutely love to touch on that difference between a layer one and a layer two. You did a great job at describing the layer one as like the railroad tracks, which everything else kind of moves on top of. Your layer ones are your base layer cryptocurrencies. That railroad track that everything else moves on top of. It is your base layer transfer of value from one person to another. The big key points on a layer one is going to be the securement of decentralized payments, the digital bedrock for global neutral platforms where money or data, that point is going to be very big later. It doesn't always have to be money. It can be data.
That's
can
true.
be permanently beyond the control of one entity or government or corporation, be moved from one person to another. So that's basically what your layer one does.
I'll tell you what, I love the fact that you call it digital bedrock. That was awesome. I didn't even expect that, definitely. I like it. I like it. And again, something that BC and I touched on way back in, like, I think the first or second video when we were talking about the history in this space, and the fact that, you know what, it was meant, this whole space started out with a cypherpunk movement. It was meant to, like, rage against the machine, as they say. And I know it's lost a little bit of that luster in recent in recent years, but without getting too far down that road, the digital bedrock is still there. Love that. I'm going to keep using that. I just stole it from you. Anyway,
you are welcome, sir.
The digital bedrock is still there for that, like BC said, because yes, money gives us that ability to do things, to buy things, to get things, to whatever. But the fact that it can be something like information, what a difference does that make right there? Because think about it from a healthcare perspective. I have to deal with a lot of different doctors for a lot of different things. Sometimes these doctors aren't all in the same network. Well, when they're not in the same network, what happens? This information that's over here that this doctor has doesn't get over here to what this doctor has. And having it in a potentially decentralized fashion that maybe even, heaven forbid, I control and not them, how much better would that be? That is, in my opinion, part of what that digital bedrock is that he just mentioned. BC, come on, bring up another great one like that. I'm gonna be writing them down and stealing them on you.
Oh, not well. I'm glad to be of that help. I really like that you touched on that whole healthcare sector. You know, it'll really bring into play on another one of these topics that we touch on a little bit later in the video, because as we've brought up, crypto has many use cases. When you're talking about transferring data from one person to another, data a lot of the times has to go along with that play of a transfer from person to person, and oftentimes is paired with money. So when you go to the doctor, you have a lot of payments that go along with this. A smart contract would be very useful. If I give you my information, which I control, like you brought up, and you perform said task, at the end of that, when the contract is fulfilled, then the payment is attached on the back end. That would be a smart contract. So
yes,
very nice implementation of that one there, sir.
Well, thank you. Well, and think about it. In our current day and age, information is like the new gold, they say, right? And that's why you've got these platforms that let you jump on in for free, you know, a la all your social media, Google, etc. Because why? What are they doing? They're mining your information. At the very least, they're mining your information to then sell it to people who want to send ads to you. And I'm going to leave it at that, because there are so much more nefarious things that go on. There you go. We'll go there just to kind of prove the point. And blockchain technology and this cryptocurrency space has the means by which to disrupt that in many of the points, like BC mentioned smart contracts just now, but even just the fact of the privacy, your own personal privacy. Because let's go back to my healthcare example. I may be going to this specialist for whatever, and I may not want him to see certain pieces of my medical history, but yet he needs to see this piece. Well, I can give him permission to see that piece, and then if he provides me a reason why he needs additional information, then maybe I can allow him to see other pieces of information. Or if I'm going for testing, blood work, whatever the case may be, they don't need my entire medical history in front of them. They only need X. And so being in control of that how great would that be? I deal with the medical industry so often, it just drives me up a tree. So that's why I'm really hitting on this. Sorry, BC, don't let me go down that rabbit hole.
Not a problem. I mean, it really does touch on just one small use case that crypto could have. And because, you know, crypto is permissionless and very decentralized, but transparent, that's where you come into that big next section that we would kind of touch on, where you have privacy tokens. Well, hey, I want to send you the information, but I don't want just anyone that looks at the blockchain to be able to read my whole medical history. That's where privacy tokens would come into play. Things like Monero or Zcash, which use cryptography, but don't give all of the information in the block. They just let you know that the transaction actually happened and that it was sent to the right person. So privacy tokens, a very big technology aspect in future use cases of technology.
I love that you said future use cases, because I say it all the time when I'm talking and we get into, I'm talking about Monero or Zcash or whatever. And I always say it, these coins, these privacy coins are going to be so huge in the future. They just are. And again, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, old guy, but I've seen a thing or two. And so I'm going to say that yes, you probably want to take a closer look at privacy coins. Okay. I'm off my soapbox. All right, BC, keep us going.
You've seen a thing or two, so you know a thing or two.
Exactly.
Well, since we're just diving on in super far, we've touched on layer ones, we've touched on layer twos. Layer twos are built on top of layer ones to help it perform certain tasks, like these smart contracts, which normally fall under like layer threes, which layer threes are that DApp area that was in that definition to perform a certain task. So a lot of these are known as smart contracts, which we touched on very, very briefly. I'm sure that you'll have a giant video on smart contracts, because they are way more, they are way more complex than 1 + 1 = 2. And that 1 + 1 = 2 is fulfillment, and payment. So it gets a little more complex than that. But for your base layer, that smart contract is, I fulfill my part, you fulfill your part, and this is the end result. So that's that layer. That's that layer 2 and layer 3 with smart contracts. We do have tokens and assets when it comes to crypto. A lot of the time, these are all bundled together, but they're a little bit separate. Things like
glad you brought that up.
Oh yeah, I know you're gonna have a whole video on that one too, because you brought it up before we even dived into it. But a token, things like Ethereum, are often used to access what is built on top of Ethereum, also known as like gas fees. You're paying in your base layer token to use what is built on top of that cryptocurrency. You also have interoperability projects, and that's going to be that next real big sector when it comes to talking about crypto that you really need to understand, because all of these different blockchains stay in their own little ecosystem.
They're in their own silo.
Oh yeah, but you need to communicate between these two ecosystems. Say I have Bitcoin and I need to have a smart contract done with someone in India. There's a task that needs to be done. I want them to complete this task using a smart contract. Well, I need to integrate with that Ethereum system. And that's where these interoperability projects, which are usually layer 3s, really, really shine. Those big ones that we've all probably heard of if you've been in the crypto space are going to be things like Polkadot, Cosmos, and Chainlink. These are known as interoperability projects, and their whole goal is to be able to have one blockchain communicate with another blockchain, but to do so privately.
And think about that now, the fact that that's even being built, because to go back to my example, medical healthcare example from earlier, I've got one doctor in this network, one doctor in this network, and their networks don't communicate except through me, and usually quite choppily, because I got to get this paperwork from this guy or this paperwork from this guy. And so I understand why blockchains need to be siloed to some degree, of course, for security reasons, right? But there also needs to be, if we're going to make this entire infrastructure work, there needs to be a bridge, which is usually what a lot of these things are called. They're called bridges. There needs to be that kind of bridge between them so they can talk, because I don't know. I would not like to be, and I get it, cryptocurrency, blockchain is an evolving sector, but I wouldn't want it to be like that traditional healthcare system in my example, where they stay that way and they're just bouncing off of each other trying to get that information. So I love the fact that you, one, highlighted that, and two, I just got to say, I'm very bullish on the fact that like these projects are even working in that direction, because it is, I think, what's going to be the future of DeFi and so on as we move forward. Any other thoughts you want to throw on that? Sometimes I get on a rant, BC.
Oh no, that was actually really great. I love that you touched on the bridge, because that's what it's called. A lot of the time, if you want your wallet to communicate with something else, you bridge it. So a lot of these interoperability projects are a bridge link between one project and another project, which is, why Chainlink is called Chainlink. It links one
Yes,
chain
chain.
to another chain.
I
Very
love
simple
it.
name to
Yep.
really explain what it's supposed to do. So,
Yep. Facts. All right, BC. Now that we got that kind of base layer framework for what cryptocurrency is, how about we touch on some of the other points that we've got in our notes and set ourselves up for the next video, because people aren't going to want to miss that next video. And we're going to tell you more about that toward the end. What do you think, BC? Take it away. Give us some points.
I can definitely do that. And a lot of these that we've kind of glossed over just a little bit, kind of what the projects are supposed to do, will get touched on a little more in depth in that next video. So if you're not ready, you definitely need to be. Make sure that you're tuning on in for that one, because we'll hit those hard hitting points on what these projects are actually supposed to do. That next real big sector of crypto is going to be infrastructure projects. These are supposed to be supporting these blockchains. A lot of them have to do with the technology side of transferring data and not actually transferring money. A lot of those are known as DePIN.
I was
Things like,
hoping you were going to bring that up. Yep, we hear that a lot in the space.
oh yeah, I think people kind of get a little bit confused about what DePIN actually is. DePIN, when you're talking about crypto, is the technological side of transferring data. Filecoin, Arweave are that storage side of data. You have Helium, which is the communication side for the data. So
Yes.
there's a giant sector known as DePIN, and it's very, very crucial to have that decentralized way of actually communicating data-wise with another person instead of using these very unsecure methods like, hey, CCM, let me send you this info and I'm just going to email it to you real quick. Well, you know how easy it is to get into someone's email? It's not that hard.
Hey, Google reads your email. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah. So I really do like the DePIN section. It is very, very important when you're talking about technology and the furtherance of the crypto space when it comes to transacting with people, because a lot of the time there's a lot of data that goes into transacting with people.
Yes.
So
Yes. That's
especially
a
when,
great point. And think about it, BC. I mean, you could, and this is why earlier in the video I said that, man, we could be here for like 12 hours, because
oh,
if
yeah.
we were just to dive into DePIN, which as time is progressing here, I think that might be an advanced video that we go in, because I think it's an important area for people to understand. That literally, like I just said, could be its own video unto itself, and that one could probably be a few hours long easily at our current level of development with DePIN. So I appreciate the outline that BC gave. If you can at least understand that piece, you're on good footing as we go forward.
Oh, most definitely. And I know if you've been in the crypto space, you've probably heard of Web3. Well, DePIN goes into rebuilding the internet as we know it into a completely new system. It is the
Yes.
backbone to an internet of decentralization. So you can't have Web3 if you don't have DePIN.
No, that's a fact, and I'm glad you brought up Web3. Honestly, it wasn't something I was going to hit on. It was something that was quite popular in the crypto space several years back, in the like last bull cycle. If you've been in the space, but it's kind of like gone by the wayside. But I am very much a proponent of that particular idea of infrastructure, and to the point of gaming in particular. And I know, BC, you and I have talked about this in previous videos, where I think that's going to be a very big intersection point where people that have no knowledge, that might even be watching this video right now, of cryptocurrency, are going to have their first intersection with cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. Just my opinion. Again, sometimes I go on a rant. BC, save me.
No, I think that's a very key point. Gaming is extremely big. It's a very big way that people communicate with other people on the entire world.
Yes.
And
Yes.
crypto can help that along and do it extremely quickly, extremely securely, and extremely decentralized without having to have your giant storage facilities that like Rockstar uses if you're trying to play GTA. You'd be able to have this spread out all over the world and be able to do it a little bit quicker and a little bit more securely. Your accounts would be a whole lot more secure. You don't have to worry about your account getting stolen or getting hacked or things like that. So very, very big use case. Web3, I think the reason that it died off a little bit is because the fact that a lot of the technology that has been developing this bull cycle is just starting to get to that use case of Web3.
I think you're right, BC. Yep.
Yeah, we didn't really have DePIN last time, where you're able to
Right.
transfer large amounts of data securely. So we're
Yep.
starting to see Web3 really get to that point with current projects where it could kind of flourish. I still think we have a little ways to go though. So
No, oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, and to the point of these videos, the technology changing and advancing all the time. So it's going to be at some point where these videos that right now give you the most current information. Well, guess what? In a couple of years, I might have to be recording these videos again because that's going to be new information. So make sure that if you get into the space, you're always learning. Keep your eyes and ears open because stuff is always changing. All right, BC, keep us going down the road here.
Yep, we just had one more section to really touch on. That's going to be called your application layer. We talked about dApps. The other part of that is going to be protocols. dApps and protocols pair together extremely nicely. Your dApps often deal with your DeFi space, things like Aave, Uniswap, lending, borrowing, trading without banks, tie very closely to these dApps and protocols. NFTs are another big section of that application layer. Very, very big. You touched on that gaming sector. Once we start seeing gaming really flourish, I think NFTs really make their comeback, but with actual utility and not like a stupid monkey on a yacht stuff. So
exactly. And there's so much in the way of utility for NFTs. So like potential is like mind-blowing. And all people who have been in the space know, like you just said, is the monkey JPEG. It's so true.
If you can't tell how I felt about NFTs, you kind of got a little bit of a glimpse, but I only felt that way because there was no actual utility behind the NFTs yet, because we didn't have the infrastructure for these NFTs to actually be a proponent of technology.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact. And again, we're touching on so many things. Some of these videos are not yet recorded. Once they are, they'll be in the description and again up in the corner. So you're kind of hearing it in multiple locations, but I guess maybe the point I think is important for you to understand at this point in this video is that everything that we're talking about is integrating into everything else. It is all connected. It is an entire ecosystem. And, you know, there may be different ways of explaining it, you know, looking at it from the tech end and the blockchain end versus the crypto end. So what's this token supposedly taking care of? Yeah, that kind of thing. So realize that this is all a mesh. We're just trying to break it down as into bite-sized pieces for you to understand. BC, that was great. What else you got for us?
Well, I hope all of these bite-sized pieces are easily digestible for everyone. Let me touch on the last two ones of that application layer. I really wanted to touch on Metaverse / gaming, going to be that real big sector as we watch Web3 really come into play. We'll kind of keep our eyes on that. I know you touch on gaming a lot. I talk about gaming a lot too. I'm a gamer. So that gaming sector is going to be a really big proponent for future use cases of crypto. The last one I really wanted to touch on, which we've talked about here before, DAOs. I think that was in the definition one. DAOs. Decentralized organizations, which are run by token holders. So that could be a very easy way to replace things like your government. You hold a token that you're able to vote with, and you choose how the government operates. If you pay into taxes, you get to choose what DAO your taxes go into. So like, hey, I care about roads. I want better roads. You put your money in, you put your tax money in the road DAO. And then because you are a part of that road DAO, you and everyone else that is in that road DAO that cares about roads chooses who gets to get the road contract. So you vet the companies in your local area who actually does the best job, and you get some better roads. And it's all done in a decentralized, secure way.
I'll tell you what, I love that example. I mean, because people can all wrap their head around taxes, unfortunately, governments, unfortunately. And then, you know, now pulling that all together to, yes, you could decide if you were in a DAO. So that's like, yeah, that was perfect. That was perfect. And yeah, I don't know. I'll go off on a small tangent right here. I think that the future, even with all the technology that's coming, I think that's going to only help to embrace the DAO model as we go forward. My opinion. What's your opinion on that, BC?
No, I completely agree. The aim for crypto is to really replace our old rigid systems that we all complain about all the
Yeah.
time. Things that they're cogs in the wheel, and it doesn't always rotate extremely well. It gets halted up by some dumbness that some politician or some bank or some business just doesn't get with the times on. And
Well, and let's call out what it is. Sometimes it's just plain out corruption. Let's
Mhm.
be honest.
corruption, stupidity, laziness. Crypto will help a lot of these problems.
Agreed.
And eventually, we'll see crypto really flourish, especially as it becomes the only way to really do these applications extremely quick and securely, and in some cases, pseudo anonymously.
Well, yes, and still transparently, because guess what? People are going to be able to see how many people voted, like to use your road example, to fix that road. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be like, okay, what person came in and decided this? Who greased this politician's palm to get my road, that road taken care? While there still be some pseudo anonymity, like BC just said, I believe it will actually open up the transparency.
Most definitely.
Things again down that little rabbit hole we weren't planning on going down, but it'll be something quite interesting to see as it unfolds literally in real time in this space.
See, and that's why I'm in crypto, because I like the technology. I make a little money along the way, but I'm not here to make money. I am here for the revolution that
For
crypto
the revolution, baby.
Oh yeah, it's a digital revolution. It is here to shake up the entire way that the world runs, and to do it, as you said, transparently, pseudo-anonymously, and securely with efficiency.
No, and efficiently. Yeah, there you go. You know what? That's probably one of the pieces I should have thrown in the first place, because Lord knows the government ain't efficient. But again, I think we're getting a little off tangent here at this point, BC. Maybe we need to bring it back a little bit here, folks. We're getting long in this video. We're going to try to wrap it up. And again, I told you we're going to prep you for the next video. So BC, why don't you hit that last section you were going to hit, and we'll tee it up, as they say, for that next video.
Well, the last real section I had on my notes was going to be that wrap up. We touched on a lot of topics here in this video. You had core technology, blockchain. That's what crypto is. It uses cryptography to move these blocks around. It normally has consensus agreements to keep it secure, and does it in a trustless system, meaning that you don't have to rely on a single entity for this blockchain to work. There was bullet point 2, which is the ecosystems. These ecosystems are layer 1s. We touched on that in the beginning. They're layer 2s, which are built on top of layer 1s. They're smart contracts, programmable money and applications. They're tokens and privacy and interoperability with infrastructure, which is the building blocks to an entirely new world.
And I love the fact that he's talking about building blocks, because I'm hoping that as you're watching this video, you're seeing that it's like one level on top of the other level. It doesn't matter where you're coming in from, whether you're just about Bitcoin or you're about like tech or whatever it is. And each one of these layers, these levels, these pieces of technology come with pros and cons. Let's be completely honest, and at least at our current level of technology. And who knows with the rollout, like, are DAOs perfect? Probably not. I mean, but is it better than what we got? Hell to the yeah. So you got to kind of look at it that way. All right, BC, any last words you'd like to leave in this particular video before we head out of here today?
Well, if you've been watching and you've stuck through until the end, I hope you have just a slightly better understanding of what crypto is and what crypto aims to do, and kind of some of the use cases of what crypto can solve in your daily life and improve upon in our old systems of governing the world, of transacting with other people, of moving information around, and of the internet, which also isn't that old, but could definitely use some fixing.
Yeah, facts. Oh man, see, you're gonna get it straight here. That's the way it is. And listen, like BC said, and we mentioned way back in the beginning of the video. Again, this wasn't meant to be all encompassing. We obviously didn't go deep into a lot of rabbit holes here, but there are links in the description to give you the opportunity to go check out a whole bunch of information that will go into some of those rabbit holes and give you some good base information so you can just keep increasing your knowledge, because at the end of the day, knowledge is the power you need in this space. And if you follow Army Piper, and you should, as he says, knowledge is profit. So you got to be educating or edumacating yourself here in this space. I appreciate you being here today, BC. Thank you, man.
As always, it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to educate my fellow crypto and wealth accumulators.
So what did you think about that? Some great information and lots of knowledge from BC PortCorp. So thank you to him for being there. Again, links to all of his information in the description. Make sure you are checking that out. It's time to head on to more education. So head over to this video and I will see you there.